Hello everyone, today I'm going to be talking about making time lapses on some different phones, of like different things like clouds or whatever. Now, on many modern phones like the Samsung S21 Ultra, if you just go in the camera app, there is a pretty good hyperlapse mode, where you can change resolution or the speed or whatever. There's also quite a good one on other modern phones like OnePlus, has quite a nice time lapse app. But on many older phones, or different brands like this Sony, in the built-in camera app, there's absolutely no time-lapse mode. There's slow-mo or creative effects or whatever. No time-lapse. Also, on some older phones, like this Sony Xperia XZ or some old Samsung phones, generally time-lapse mode just doesn't work very well, doesn't look very good. So today I'm going to be showing some different methods of doing time-lapses. Now the first obvious option is to just download an app like this. This one's Frame-Lapse 2. It works reasonably well. Change interval or speed change or other settings. But the issue with most of these apps is they don't let you use all the cameras. So if you want to use the 3x lens, like on this Samsung S21 Ultra, you can't. If you go to switch camera modes, you only have two rear options. You can camera 3, which is the ultra wide, or camera 1, which is the normal, but you can't use any of the other lenses on this phone. Now also apps like this on older phones like this Xperia XZ just don't work, and after a while they just kind of crash, among many other issues, so this is also not a very good option for older phones. But there are a lot of things like this Sony Xperia 5 Mark II or this Samsung S10. It's quite a good option if you just want to set your phone in the window and leave it for a while. If you want an older phone or just don't really like the quality of an app like Frame-Lapse, another good alternative I found is to use an auto-clicker like this one, and then just set the auto-clicking button to the button in the camera app. This makes the phone take a photo every couple of seconds or whatever you want to set it to, and this can create some very nice results. Once you have a lot of photos, you can go into a PC and combine them all into one video, which often has very good results because you're using the phone's built-in camera app, which is normally tuned quite well for the phone. This method also works well for phones like this Sony Xperia XZ, which was released over about 10 years ago. Once again, you can just get the auto clicker up. It takes a bit longer, this phone's old. And then just go into the camera app and put it on the thing. Phones from Sony also have the nice advantage of having a SD card slot, and also many older Samsungs like this S10 also have SD card slots. So you can really put some extra storage in here so you don't have to worry about filling up the internal storage. However, if your phone doesn't have additional storage like this Samsung S21 Ultra or many other newer phones, a good option I found is to use something like a primitive FTPD, which is an FTP server that can run locally on the phone. So if you start this, and then go to the normal, so auto clicker, camera, and start it. What this allows you to do is later go onto your computer and every so often pull all the photos off, so the device can never fill up the storage. And that's how you can create time lapses, which are several days already, as long as you want long, until your computer fills up. As you can see here, this is the code that ChatGPT wrote, so occasionally copy the pictures over from the phone to your PC. Now we're going to jump over to the phone and set it up. First thing you're going to want to do is go to a browser and download primitive FTP. You can get it from the F-Droid store, but I prefer to just use the APK. Click open, install. And now, on the first setup, you're going to need to set up some configs. So you go into settings, username, and want to set up. Just keep the default, but I like to change it. Password, just set a password. And then you're going to want to go back over to here. On Sony, you can use the top option, plain old file system, but on Samsung phones, I found that doesn't work. And you're better off using the middle option, SAF, which just seems to work better on Samsung phones. One thing to check before you start the server on Primitive FTP is you need to make sure you go into settings and make sure you allow app permissions. Depending on which phone you have, this could be different, but on Sony you go to apps, app permissions, storage, find Primitive FTPD, and make sure it's turned on. On Samsung it's a bit different, but you should be able to find it. Now you just go to the app and start the server. Now to check that it's working, you can use a program like FileZilla or anything else with SCP, any FTP program, and type in the details. Once you're in, you should be able to find your photos in DCIM, and then on Sony this folder. As you can see, there's some photos I took earlier. But if we go on the phone and take some more pictures of something like this, you should be able to see them come up on the computer. If we just go in here and refresh, there's our pictures. Anyway, instead of manually using FileZilla to copy everything, we can use this Python code. To do that, you just need to fill in the information. Before you close FileZilla, it's important to find the file path of where the pictures are on the phone itself. On Samsung this will be a lot shorter, but on Sony you need to, for this phone it's this. Now you just need to find the file path where you want your photos to go on your computer, and you should be good to go to run the code. Now you can set up the phone, so you're just going to want to go back to the auto clicker, enable, go to the camera app, put that on there. You may want to change the timing. On these older phones you want to set this nice and slow because they can take a while to actually take the photo. Then you just put it in front of your plant or whatever, and start it. Now on the code, I only implemented 2 commands, ls, to actually show you what pictures are on the phone, and move all. And then after that you just want to put how many seconds, so we're going to do it every 30 seconds. 60. And as you can see, it is moving all the pictures across every 60 seconds. And now you can just leave this for as long as you like, and it will just time lapse away. I've tried a few different phones for this. You just saw me set it up on this Sony Xperia XZ, but one of my favourites to use is this Sony Xperia XZ Premium, mainly because the touchscreen is broken, so I got it for very cheap, and it can create some very nice results. Other phones I've tried is this Sony Xperia 5 Mark II, and this works okay, but the autofocus can go a bit wonky, and that's one thing to look out for. You're definitely going to want to lock the focus if you're doing a time lapse. Another thing is on this Xperia 5 Mark II, it has a really nice ultra wide camera, which is what you want to use if you want to do time lapses of like clouds or quite a lot of things. Now, using older phones can often give you some very nice results, even though they're quite old. Older phones normally do okay if there's a lot of light in the scene. So if you're doing like the sky or something, which is quite bright because the sun's up there, then you're going to get pretty good results. I also tried using the Samsung S21 Ultra and its main camera, which does a lot better at night time than some of the older phones do. Another thing to note is if you don't have a phone spare to use, and if you're thinking about picking one up, something as good as these action cameras. This is another Sony FDR-X1000, but there's a lot of other cheap ones, which can give some really nice results as well. They have a nice wide-angle lens normally, and most of them have built-in time-lapse modes. Now I'm going to put some footage up from this Sony Xperia XZ Premium so you can have a look just how nice it does look, even though this phone is 10 years old. And I only paid £4 for it. Now we're supposed to have some nice weather tomorrow, so I'm going to set up my time-lapse bucket. Now all this is just a normal bucket with a thing so I can attach a cable to, so I can keep the phone charged while it time-lapses. And to actually secure the phone, I've made this lid, which is just a piece of glass out of an old scanner, and then you can just attach the phone in there like that, and then it can time-lapse away happily without getting wet when it rains.